Hello, thank you for joining, Nani. We're just waiting for more people to join in and then we shall start. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes and then we shall start. Okay? All right. I see two people. Let's just wait for one more minute. Hi, Sreshta. Let's just wait for a couple of more minutes. It's 10:32. We shall start by 10:34 or 5. We'll just wait for 2 to 3 more minutes and then we shall start. And please stay connected till then. The topic, as you already know, as you're aware, that it is about long distance relationship, and there's a lot of thoughts and myths associated with long distance relationship. We are going to uncover them, so please stay connected. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes before we start. It's already 10:34. We'll just wait for one more minute and we shall start. Thank you for staying connected. Hi, Devarna. I think we will start now. So thank you all three of you who are watching me live right now. And I'm sure the rest of the people will watch this episode a little late. So hi Kushbu, I can see Kushbu has joined. So let's just start with our episode. And today's topic, it is something that a lot of people talk about, but a lot of songs, web series that have been done on these topic. It is long distance relationship. Now, the moment you talk about long distance relationship, what is the first thing that comes in our mind? It is that the geographical distance that exists between the couple. Okay, so if I have to define what is a long distance relationship, then the specific definition will be that it is an intimate relationship between partners who are geographically separated from one another. So basically, long distance relationship means about the geographical distance between two people, two or more people. Now, usually, long distance relationship is associated with a couple, but long distance relationship can be associated with anybody who is staying away from someone. So, for example, children who are also staying away from their parents for higher studies or for job, that is also a long distance relationship, but we have made it a point that long distance means only a couple, but that is not the case. However, in this particular live, we are basically going to talk about the couple long distance relationship, because that is what 95% of the population would understand. All right. So, long distance relationship, do you think it's rare? Long distance relationship, what do you guys think? There are four people who are watching, so I see four or five people who are watching. So, do you think long distance relationship is rare? Anyone? Or do you think it's common? Anybody can just answer whatever you think. Is it rare? Shrestha is saying yeah, yes for what? Is it rare? Yes, or is it common? Yes. Which one is the yes? What is the yes for? Rare. Okay. Common. All right. Two different answers, and yes, the correct answer is long distance relationship is very common. You know, people at least about 40% of the people around the world, more than 40% now, are in a long distance relationship. Now, why this long distance? Correct, the one, it's common. Because why this long distance relationship is common nowadays even more, because both the partners are usually working. They are often located in different cities, and that's what makes the factor more common, and sometimes in different countries as well, different parts of the continent as well, right? It's very common. But then if something is so common, then why is long distance relationship so difficult? Why do you guys think long distance relationship becomes very difficult for people, even though the aspect of long distance is very common? Why do you think it's very difficult, or it becomes very difficult? Let me see, what responses do you give? Then, of course, I'm going to talk about the pointers that I have in mind. So, why do you think long distance relationship is this difficult if the aspect of long distance relationship is very common? Why do you think? Any factors that you can think of, maybe? Hi, Arfana. Hi, you just joined. So the question that I was asking is, why do you think long distance relationship is difficult? Space, too much of space, trust issues, anything else? Anything else that you can think of? Both are very important points. Space, too much of space or distance, trust issues, definitely. Anything else that you can think of? Anybody? Why long distance relationships becomes difficult? Any other responses? No? Okay, I'll move on. In case we have any response, we'll go with it as well. So I'll just keep it like this. All right. So definitely the number one reason which makes a long distance relationship very difficult, time. Yes. Time is also, especially if you're in different countries, then definitely the time also becomes in my case actually. Yes. Your case actually, Devarna, what is the case? Uh, so, as Arfana is saying, time, especially if two people are located in two different countries and they follow two different time zones, then definitely it's going to be difficult, you know, because you hardly get time to match each other. And more so it is long distance, a lot of misunderstandings, miscommunication creep up. So, yes, definitely time is another factor. So, it the first reason is so time, trust, these are the broader versions, the broader sections of the issue. Aage likhechi, it's not difficult for me. Yes. So it can be a challenge to share big things. One thing that becomes difficult often amongst a couple who are in long distance relationship is it becomes a challenge to share big things. Now these big things can be positive, these big things can be negative. So the way I would share to somebody, like someone who's readily available or next to me, or who is always available, then in that case it becomes easier to communicate with that person. But if somebody is in a long distance, don't know whether the network is working, whether you will reach out to that person at that particular time, whether the time zones are matching, whether the person is free at that point of time or not to receive your calls. So there are millions of factors. অনেক পরে পরে যাচ্ছে text, yeah, right. So this is one thing. It becomes difficult to share big things. Or for example, let's say you got a promotion. If somebody is just beside you or some near you, you can just meet that person and you celebrate your special day. But when you're a long distance, you can just say it, the person becomes happy, and that's it. It becomes difficult to express that emotion for a lot of couple. I'm not saying this is exactly what happens, but for a lot of couple, trust issues, as Sandy said, that trust issues definitely creeps in, because there are many reasons for trust issues. The person is not receiving your call, the time is not matching, not responding, the distance is increasing, misunderstandings are there, that is impacting the trust of the person. So a lot of factors get into this. Special events, you can feel very lonely, like your birthdays or any other days. Somebody, your friends are there to make you feel special, but that special person is not there with you. So you might just feel very lonely during that point of time. And as who said that distance, yes, Debona was talking about distance. So distance can grow, communication problem and distance, yes, Shrestha just said that. So distance can grow without either person realizing it. This is a very important fact. Although you say that things are not going to change, but things do change when you get into long distance relationship, and sometimes it needs a lot of maturity to handle that change in a very positive, in a very matured manner, rather than complaining and that you were not like this when you were here, you have changed when you have gone there. Of course things would change, because when the person is present in front of you physically, then the way the person would handle things or respond to you, that's not the same way a person would respond to you when they're miles away from you. Okay, the emotions might not change, but the way it is getting communicated, that might change, and that's very human. All right. So if you start questioning each and every aspect of it, then anyways there is physical distance, and then comes mental distance, emotional distance, and it starts growing in bits and pieces, and slowly it becomes so much that you don't even realize one day that you have grown apart. So that's what makes the long distance relationship more difficult. So there are also certain questions that goes in the mind of a person when they are in long distance relationship, and one major question is he or she worth waiting for? Because that's not a question that comes from within, that's a question that comes from people around you. क्यों इतना वेट कर रही हो, किसी कोई और मिल गया होगा इसीलिए जवाब नहीं दे रहा, यू मूव ऑन, ऐसा नहीं चलता. So when so many things keeps on happening around you, people are talking about all these things, because those people cannot handle long distance relationship, and then these thoughts starts creeping within you, and then you start thinking, is he or she really worth waiting for? And why am I giving so much of a time? Because definitely any relationship needs a lot of work, and long distance relationship needs double work, because there is no physical proximity. So definitely that question comes in mind, is he or she worth waiting for? So the next question that can work in your, or that can crop up in your mind is, are they feeling the same way I do? How I feel, has their feeling changed? That's why they are not responding. Maybe the person is busy. So these things start creeping in, because the moment there is communication issues and there is no regular touch basing with each other, then these issues come out. Then how to handle this type of situations? Arfana always knows what to ask, because I am going to answer that question, Arfana, in a bit. I'm just still talking about the problem, but of course I'll come with the solution too. Okay. So this is one aspect, are they feeling the same way? क्या तुम भी ऐसे सोच रहे हो जैसे मैं सोच रही हूँ? It's not telepathy that it's always going to happen. Feelings would be different, not that every time the way, for example, how should I say that? There is a term called mirroring. Now, mirroring is what? When you are constant, when you are in sync with the person. If the person is sitting like this while talking to you, after some time, subconsciously or unconsciously, you will also sit like this and talk to the person. This is called mirroring. This means that you are in sync with the person, and that happens unconsciously, and that actually helps to build the rapport and the relationship between people. That happens. Now, you cannot expect that to happen over the phone or over the internet or in long distance. It does not happen every time. It will happen, but the frequency will reduce. So, the whole point or the whole problem starts from the expectation that nothing is going to change. It is going to change. Things will change, especially couple who have been in a close relationship and then they move to long distance. Then it becomes difficult for them to adjust to that change, and that's where the misunderstandings, miscommunication crops up. But for couples who are always from the very beginning in long distance relationship, it becomes, it becomes you they become used to it because they know to give each other space, and when they are together also they know how to handle that. It becomes difficult. It becomes difficult for people who are together and then suddenly they grow apart because they expect exactly जैसा था वैसा ही रहेगा. नहीं होता. That's not how it's gonna work. Okay. So the next thing is, the next thought process that goes in the mind is he or she avoiding me when they miss your call or don't respond to your texts? So they're basically avoiding me. They are not responding to you. That these are the thoughts that what goes in our mind. In fact, he or she avoiding me is not only in long distance. That also happens in regular relationship also. If the person is not responding to your texts, that शायद मुझे avoid कर रहा है, शायद they don't want to respond. We assume this is my case, but we overcome from the situation now. That's wonderful, Deborna. So now answering Arfana's question, in fact, many people's question that how to make this work, how to handle these situations. So I have a list of things. I will say one by one, so that if you have any question with any pointers, please feel free to ask. Okay. First things first is communicate as much or as little as you need to feel connected. So when I say as much or as little, it means that every couple has, or every person or couple goals have a specific amount of communication that is required for you to feel secured. For example, somebody is just going to be okay with if the people just say each other, hi and good morning, good night, how are you, did you have food, that much, just 5-6 minutes of touch base in daily, you feel secured. So this much. And some people need too much of talking, communication to make you feel secured. So that depends from person to person. That's why I say communicate as much or as little as possible to make you feel connected. It depends on what works in your situation or both of your situation. Do not force communication, making the other person feels obligated. Like, don't force your kind of communication to make the person say that, you have to talk to me. The moment it becomes have to, the distance, that's the first point that the distance starts creeping in. Don't make the person feel obligated. You have to do this. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, because that leads to resentment. You start resenting, you start avoiding, you start getting the negative or that bitter vibe from the relationship. So communicate. It is important to communicate. It is important to keep the dialogue flowing between the two of you, but it is important to keep a check. It does not mean that just because you're a couple you have to become like the customer service, customer support, always talking. No, you need to find out that how much makes you feel secure, or how much your communication your partner needs to so that he or she feels secured. So only that much if you maintain, then chances are there will not be any communication issues. Okay, this is number one. Number two is be there even though you cannot actually be there. Like, be emotionally present for the person. While you're in long distance relationship, the number one thing you need to do is prioritize. While your goals, while your I have a question. May I? Yes, Devarna, please ask. So while you are asking the question, I will continue with this point. It is important to be there, emotionally present. So why it is important? Because when you're physically distant, there are a lot of things that takes into your priority list, and somewhere this thing takes a backseat, and that's where this miscommunication, that's this this trust issues comes in. So it is very important to prioritize that, no matter what happens this time of the day, I will keep to talk to this person, or I have to, no matter what happens, out of 24 hours at least I will give 15 minutes to this person. It is important, this prioritizes has to be important, because when you cannot be there physically, you at least have to be there emotionally present. Otherwise it's not going to work, because what matters is not the physical distance. What matters is the emotional proximity, and emotional proximity is something which you have to work, whether you're in long distance or whether you are in the same city or in the even the same room. It needs to be worked on. Okay, so I'm still waiting for the question from Deborah, and maybe I can move to the third point. In case you have any other question, you can feel free to ask. So the first point I spoke about is communicate as much or as little to make yourself feel secured. The second thing is be emotionally present when you know that you cannot be physically present. You need to learn to prioritize. Yes, work is important, but work is not life. You need to keep importance to a little bit to your relationships as well. 10 minutes, 15 minutes in a day to people, to your loved one, is all that they ask for. Even 5 minutes touch base, even you cannot call, you can simply text them, say that, it had been a really busy day. Keeping the person informed is very important, so that the person doesn't know, doesn't have to have any clue that what is happening. They don't know what is happening in their life, so that is not how it should be. Okay. Deborn, I don't know what happened. She has not written. We people are dating only online. They should know about each other. So then less communication. We people are dating only online. Then they should know about each other. So then less communication will not help, right? I don't understand quite the question, but just tell me if what I understood is that what you're asking. So some people are dating only online, yes. So they should know about each other. Then less communication will not help. Correct. So in the initial phases of relationship, of course, you need more communication to know each other. But once you know each other, once you already have that kind of confidence amongst your people, let's say 6 months down the line, 7 months down the line, then you need to I'm not talking about less communication. I am talking about the kind of communication that works for you. Less or more is very subjective. What is less for you might be too much for me. So for example, I'll talk about mine. So my relationship had been online for 3.5 years. So initially it was communication, good communication, maybe about what about, like, let's say, almost frequently texting. But after a certain point of time, when you know that you're secured, when you know things are settled, this communication bit started a little bit dipping in. Initially it used to affect me, but then I understood that how much communication do you need to make the person feel secured is very important. So other people might question you, how do you understand, how do you handle this space? I don't know. They don't need to know. It's not what you call that. I saw one Instagram post, or yeah, someday I really liked it. The post was that you do not need to explain. Correct, Kushbu said, depends from person to person. You really do not want to explain your relationship to the everybody, because it's not a community project. So I remember that post. So keeping that in mind, how you handle, or what is your kind of connection with your partner is absolutely your call. So initially, even if you talk about regular relationship, let's say, in regular relationship as well, initially people talk a lot, everything, but as years go, things starts changing. So that is what I'm saying, things will change, and you really need to know how to handle those change. What amount of communication you need to make so that you feel secured is what you need to communicate to your partner. A little bit of hints that, this much, at least spend 5-10 minutes with me. I have gone weeks without talking to that person. So I was okay with it. So it depends from person to person, but initial phases you need a lot of communication, because you really need to know the person even before you can understand that itna sab kuch karne layak bhi hai ki nahi. So that is very important. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Deborna. So the third thing is, remind your partner that what you love about your relationship. It is very important to remind your partner. So when it's a long distance, often the partner feels that it's not going to work, because that's what people around them tell. So it is important to talk about, why do you love the relationship. For example, in my case, it was told to me that I don't interfere much, I give a lot of space, and that's what he loved about the relationship. So that basically told me that I am on the right path, because telling all these small things, appreciating these small gestures, will actually keep the person stating that no, there is a future, there is a future. So whether a long distance will stay or a close distance will stay, it has nothing to do with the distance per se. It What matters is whether it's going to work or it's not going to work, and whether the partners want it to work or does not want it to work. Distance is not actually the factor. People blame it on the distance, but it's actually the partners who are at fault, not the distance. Next is, one of the best things that you can do to promote a secure attachment is supporting your partner as they grow in their individual strengths and interests. So, I don't know how many people have seen. In fact, the long distance thing was beautifully captured in the latest season of PS2, All the Boys, Always and Forever in Netflix. If you ever see that, it's a 1.5 hours movie. You can just watch that. It's the third season. It's beautiful, the entire thing. It is very important, just because a person is in relationship does not mean that they have to agree to each and every your terms and conditions. It's not important. What is important is, you should always make the person feel independent and free in the relationship, so that they can breathe and they can also develop their individual strengths and interest. A person should always help each other evolve in a relationship, or help each other develop in a relationship. That is very important. So if you think that no, the person has to talk to you, and for that, whatever comes in between, they have to ignore that. That's not how it works. That's becoming obsessive and possessive. Then that is not a healthy relationship. Okay. Next is, research shows that interdependent relationships are proven to be the healthiest form of relationships for marriage. That means you and your partner do things in sync together, like reading the same book or watching the same web series, while maintaining your own separate identities as individuals. Like, this is something which people you can do if you're in a long distance relationship. So for example, if you find out a common interest, let's say you and your partner love doing Netflix. True, space is very important for each and every relationship, yes. So you and your partner, let's say you love binging on Netflix, so you can start any web series or movie together, but in your separate screens, and then you can discuss. So what happens is, you feel connected, that wo bhi dekh raha hai, tum bhi dekh rahe ho, and then later on you talk about it. So always have something to look forward to in a relationship. That keeps the relationship growing. If you have nothing to look forward to, then suddenly that relationship is actually at a dying stage. It is not in a growing stage anymore. Okay. Bigger problems can arise if you ignore the little struggles, or you refuse to address the sensitive topics. So, the small things or the small changes that you notice in the relationship, you have to address them. If you think that apne aap solve ho jayega, that is not how it's going to happen. Because the small things that keeps on changing, that only leads to a bigger problem. All right. Focus on the positive aspects of long distance. You have a lot of space, you can build up your own career, you can build your life, he can build your life, or she can build your life. And then while you are there are other aspects of the long distance. Why the person is in a long distance, you need to respect those reasons. Maybe the person is in a long distance because of higher education or a better job, which in the long run is going to help you guys to settle down properly or have a proper future together. So respect the reasons for which it is a long distance. That actually will help you to recoup from this entire fact. Okay. So be slow to judge. That is not only in long distance, anywhere. Just because something is not happening the way, do not all start assuming things. Be slow to judge. Okay, just slow down a little bit. And when the time is right, create a long term plan for yourself for merging your world, so that it, because you cannot continue to be in long distance forever. No. But these factors or these things that we are talking about, it is how you manage the quality of your relationship or the health of your relationship while you are in long distance. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stay in long distance throughout your life. That's not how it's going to work. You have to have something to look forward to. When the time is right, decide how you can merge your worlds. Having the hope of being together long term can help you ride out the toughest of the days of being apart from one another. That little bit of hope, you can go a long way, making the one you love seem not quite far away, right? So just remember these things. And one, I think that there is this one question that is she there? Let me see. No, she's not there today, but she asked one question. So you, all you need to realize, things are going to change, and you have to, your method of handling things has to be different. You cannot breathe on the person, down the person's neck. You have to give the person a little bit of space. You have to give yourself a little bit of space, so that this relationship blooms. You have to understand that just because distance is there does not mean that nothing is going to work. Everything is going to work as long as you two guys want to work. And if things, there's one question that was asked in the open house of last Saturday, I guess we had the open house. So this question was asked, that what is the difference between a crush and a love? So whether it's crush or love, or whether it's going to work or not, I think I heard today a very beautiful statement. I think that's the best definition of this. अगर उड़ गया तो ख्वाब था, अगर नहीं उड़ा तो आरज़ू है. So remember that if you cannot save a relationship by stopping yourself from growing. You cannot save a relationship like that. So you have to grow, you have to let people grow and still see if it's going to work or not. Because if something is going to work, if people are going to make an effort, you can come through the worst of the times or the darkest of the times, right? At least remember that long distance or short distance, that is not important. It is better to be in long distance and in love, rather than being next to each other and out of love. So remember this thing. If you are in long distance relationship, or next time when you find somebody in long distance relationship, remember these things. Okay, it is just in your head that it's going to work or not. If you make an effort, everything is going to work. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. This is all that I wanted to discuss. The next live we have is on Saturday, when we have a musical night that will be from 8 p.m. onwards in Facebook. And of course, it's the month of love, so we will be there with all love songs. So see you on Saturday at 8 p.m. on Facebook. Till then, take care of yourself and keep your relationships healthy. Take care. Good night.